Hi folks, Florida Man here. Today it brings me great pleasure to bring you the video recording of my chat with Flair, one of the two creators of the Imperial Diplomacy map that I have been playing most recently. You will already perhaps be familiar with my own game on the Imperial Diplomacy map if you are on the Patreon, but if not, this is my return to diplomacy after a break variant game. And so it's been a lot of excitement for me getting into a new map while getting back into the game of diplomacy generally. I hope you enjoy. This video is part 2. Good to see you again.
Yeah, it's really fun. Oh god, I've been looking forward to continuing this.
Likewise, I'm pleased and surprised that we get to start on part 2 so soon.
It's awesome. It's awesome. Alright. Is there anything we need to take care of before we get started?
I don't think so. I think we're good.
Alright. Then I suppose we start looking at the fall of 1644.
Exactly, yes. Let me zoom into Europe for you.
Yes, this was quite... No? Never mind. I thought this was this year, but maybe this was next. Okay, so this season, I believe it was just me pretty much fulfilling the result of my previous stabs. As we discussed last season, I was stabbing both Sweden and Austria at the same time. And I'm successfully walking into Baltic Sea here, which is awesome, while claiming Narva from them as well. While I also take Prague from Austria, making some just good progress all around. Gaining a center from pretty much all of my neighbors. I think this is where I successfully takes Bremen maybe as well, or was that last year? I don't remember at this point. It's a bit hard to see on the map. But something's going on there, that's for sure. Oh wait, no, right. Now I remember. Sorry. Basically, after I stabbed the Dutch and took Bremen, we were trying to make some sort of new deal, see if we could agree to something once again. And basically, when I stabbed Sweden, I was saying, okay, let's be friends here. I can get you to Kiel and something else if you help me against Sweden. And they went like, oh yes, of course I help you. And then they of course stabbed me, which is totally fair. Like I stabbed them first, so I think I lose Bremen to them here, as they support Münster into it. But everything can't always go well. So
yeah, what goes around comes around is what I was saying.
Yeah, pretty much. And I'm totally fine with getting consequences for my stabs. Teaches me when to stab and not.
Oh, I hate consequences, but they do teach you.
They do. No, but other than that, I think Europe is quite a smooth season. It's quite smooth. I'm getting a center from most of my neighbors and just chilling. In the colonies, I think Africa is quite similar this season. We're continuing our attempt to core Dakar, to make sure we can build those extra fleets later down the line, while we are solidifying our front line against Bornu, while they are having a brutal war with the Ottomans, really. Because as we can see, they are attacking Berbers, Ottoman center in the north, yes. While the Ottomans successfully managed to slide a unit into one of the Bornu home supply centers in the middle of the Sahara. So they're on each other's throats and trying to kill each other as quickly as possible. And neither of them, they just end up trading blows pretty much, with not much success. But that unit in the middle of the Bornu territory will slow Bornu down for a while, that's for sure.
That makes sense.
Yep, they gotta get rid of that. In Africa, this is very much just a season where I position. The entire conversations between me, France, and British have finally concluded in me needing to choose an ally. We were discussing that for future years, that I needed to select someone to support out of the two. And as England is just really falling, and they're not really interested in attacking Sweden with me, I decided that I'll help the French just quickly clean them off in the Caribbean. So here I'm walking down with units from Barbados up to Guadeloupe. That way we can have 2 units on Puerto Rico for next year. But I'm also saying to Britain that this unit in Guadeloupe is here to save you, of course. So they were not... I don't think they ever got angry at the moves I was making, which is great. Because when I finally arrived, those centers were sadly already French. But we'll see what happens to the Caribbean later on, because I think that war is one of the most interesting during my game. But as I said, this year's mostly a defensive one in the Caribbean, making sure that I can build that extra unit that I was lacking, as I had too few core centers. And this was also the season where I made a deal with Spain. Because pretty much Spain was just outright saying to me that, okay, so I really don't appreciate the fact that you just tried to core 2 of your centers. If you want to keep your colony, if you don't want me to just go all out on it, you stop your coring right now. Which, I mean, like, so far I have had very good success diplomatically with the Spanish. So I thought I'd try to withhold that diplomatic presence with them, especially since the Spanish was so close with the Portuguese at this point. I really didn't want to antagonize the both of them. So I decided to not continue my coring attempts of both Barbados and Perygl, which is very risky, to be fair.
Yeah, it's some good Spanish strategy there, but
for sure.
You know, we'll see what time will bring in terms of your opportunities to change the outcome, you know, because these diplomacy agreements last only as long as a certain power status quo lasts.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the Spanish and I, we had a good relationship, but of course that could end anytime.
Yeah,
stabs are always prone to happen, and I think we'll get to see some pretty game-changing stabs quite soon on this board. But other than that, I'm considering if there's anything else on the board worth to notice. We can see that Portugal in the south here are mobilizing all their some of their South Atlantic forces down towards the Mapuche, and it looks like they might be able to snatch 2 of the Mapuche centers next year. Really well executed attack, in my opinion. As they swoop down, put themselves next to both Islas Malvinas and Tushan.
Yeah, wow. This is good inspiration for future Portugal players on things.
Really? Yeah, like this Portugal-Spain alliance has really carried them both quite far, I think.
And hopefully will continue to do so.
Yep, it's a very potent alliance, as long as it keeps going.
Yeah,
Colonial wars are dangerous, and I'm doing everything I can to avoid them.
Very costly.
Yeah, very costly. All right, let's just have a look quickly at the east to see if there's anything worth note here. Oh yes, this is the season where Tokugawa actually NMRs.
Oh, he was doing so well.
So well. Fortunately, I don't think it had such that big of a result, except for that move. Yeah, exactly. We see them slipping from Kyushu to not Heian Koyo, but Osaka. The Ming, that is. So Ming is off to start capturing the first centers on the Japanese island.
So Perygl lost 3 centers this year.
Yeah, they are on their way down. That much can be said.
He's done.
I think there might be a substitute on the way soon, but I don't remember what exact season that was.
Well, hopefully the substitute can pull that bacon out of the fire.
For sure, yeah. Absolutely. No, but the Qing Ming have a very solid alliance thus far, and they work very effectively together. It looks like the Ming has been able to throw out the Mughal unit out of their home supply center in Yunnan, and they're rapidly moving towards the Mughal home territory now.
Yeah, the Mughals are in trouble with Britain attacking them as well. And
yes, yeah, exactly. Britain managed to reach Delhi here, which is very unfortunate. This means that they have lost their capital for now. They might be able to retake it later, but they are sure exposing a lot of weakness when losing such a center.
It's going to attract even more aggression if that's possible.
Exactly. Yeah, I feel like that's a common theme in most of these world variants. When someone starts to lose, everyone sees that they might become easy prey very soon, and they join in while they can on the attack.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see how if Mughal manages to stabilize their position after this.
Indeed.
Meanwhile, over in the Americas, the Inuit player is slowly just really consolidating their position. They're taking Newfoundland, which is in my mind a big misplay on the British player's side, because in the current iteration of the map, Newfoundland is untakeable if there's 2 units on the island, because it only borders two sea tiles, which is an oversight on my end and something that needs to be fixed. But they lost it to the Inuits, so they won't survive into eternity.
I think they probably felt they couldn't afford to put 2 units on this island.
Yeah, that's very fair, honestly. You can see that they're trying to move their units back to Kapamela from St. Lawrence, but it might be too late to rescue their remaining dots in the Americas.
I would expect so. They're also being attacked by the Inuits in
Europe. Yeah, this is really the start of the Inuit colonial empire. Inuits are pushing towards Europe. They're pushing towards Siberia. They are starting to take a lot of territories not in the Americas, and it's very interesting, that's for sure. They're also taking Bermuda with French support.
William the Conqueror, no doubt, rolling in his grave.
Exactly. Oh well, what a season! I think that should be most of it, though.
Well, let's see how things are shaking out in terms of the leaderboard.
Yep. Enough said. Ottomans had a great year overall. Because of their aggressions towards the Safavid, who are now at the bottom of the leaderboard.
Oh my. Yeah.
Yeah. Due to my loss of Bremen, I sadly only got 2 builds this season. So I'm a bit behind for now, but hopefully I'll be able to catch up. Most people had a quite slow year this time around, except for the Ottomans and kind of the Inuits. But I'm hoping to catch up soon.
The British and the Sioux are both having, very fast-moving games where they're very quickly nosedive.
Yeah, exactly. They're taking the opposite direction, unfortunately. As well as the Safavids, of course, who are now touching 4 centers.
Yes, these Safavids are almost as weak as they were at the very beginning of the game.
Yep.
Which is
only very unfortunate.
Yeah. Abyssinia and Tokugawa are weaker.
Yep. It's very unfortunate.
Oh, it's very unfortunate for them.
Yep. Other than that, we can see that the powers such as Qing is starting to push their way up as well. Ming had a pretty good year after expelling the Mughals from their home territories. And so on. France is also on their way up after beating the British in quite a lot of areas. It's starting to become quite tight at the top of the leaderboard. Very interesting.
Yeah.
And the competition will continue to rise.
It's at this game when I think it might be wise for Britain to offer a vassal relationship with France.
Yeah, I think that could be quite interesting. As soon as France controls London, really, I think a vassal situation could work out. And talking about vassals, we haven't really explained the vassal rules yet.
That's true.
So I suppose this is where we could do it, because I think it's going to become very relevant from this point on.
I agree.
The Imperial Diplomacy variant uses a system called the Vassal system, where a power can decide to become a vassal to another power. To become a vassal to another faction, you need to have half the number of supply centers they have. You need to have half their progress towards the VSC. They need to control your capital, and they need to control their own capital. If all of these things are in play, you and the sovereign power can, during a movement season, declare a vassal relationship. When you do, a couple of things happen. The first thing is that from now on, the sovereign can't take your supply centers, which is great for the vassal. But in return, the sovereign gets a tax or whatever. That being that 1/4 of the vassal's supply centers is counted as the sovereign's supply centers, which means you lose units while the sovereign gains units. And why would a vassal do this except to survive? Well, when or if your sovereign wins, you gain a rank boost on their leaderboard. So there's a reason to, once you have become a vassal, help your sovereign win the game, basically.
As I think we've seen in another game, there's even a reason for people who are just not doing very well to volunteer to be vassals.
Yep, because that could make their leaderboard position better. What? And it's a big issue with the system, and for that reason it might end up being removed or heavily reworked. But it's going to have major influences on this game, that's for sure. So yeah. Other than that, I'd say we move on to spring, or builds first here actually. Right. So I only have 2 builds this season. I don't actually remember what I built. Let's see here. So
like not build in the Americas. Yes, and you just cored Dakar, so you didn't build anything in Africa either.
Yes, I think I just built 2 armies over in Europe actually. I only had 2 builds, and for a very long time, I think I was considering putting another fleet in Perygl just to stabilize my unit balance. But after Netherlands stabbed, and I just needed more units against Sweden and Austria, I think I decided that I just needed everything in Europe for now. Hoping that I could hopefully hold my America's colony stable for yet another year before I commit more to it. It's a risky move though, very risky.
Well, at least the Spanish will be happier with you not putting anything new.
They will, that's for sure.
All right.
Yep. So basically what happened, there's a very important thing going on over Europe here. Because this season, I proposed to Sweden that you should become my vassal. I will convoy an army to Stockholm and take Helsingfors first. But next year, you should become my vassal, since you're already not in a great spot. And helping me win could ensure that you still could get a good position in this game. The reason why I was interested in recruiting the Swedish player as my vassal was their fleet. They had a lot of fleets in the west, which I could use to break the Netherlands. But I, of course, only have one fleet, one European fleet, being placed in the Baltic Sea, which is very far away from the Netherlands. So the Swedish player actually accepted this idea that I would first take Stockholm, Helsingfors as a peace offering, and then I would vassal them. Which I'm very happy with, because that means this front might resolve very quickly for me.
Well done. I mean, I was thinking that it might begin to get very hard for you to advance any further against Russia without anyone helping besides, Qing is invading Russia, and Slavs are fighting Russia, but, all you've got really is Ottoman helping you, so I think you would probably get most of the gains, assuming that you didn't have a good relationship with Sweden anymore.
Yep, absolutely. So Sweden might be able to patch that hole in my strategy.
And this, Diplomacy fans, is why you always keep talking.
This is why you always keep talking, because it could open up situations like this. We'll have to see if it succeeds, though.
All right, let's move on to the spring.
Yes, sounds great.
And first thing we see is that your convoy does indeed land.
Yep, it lands in Stockholm. I walk up to Helsingfors, and I try to make a further push into Russia. I get a slight complication, though. A slight complication called salt, or the Ottomans.
Oh,
the Ottomans have decided to stab me.
So salty.
Yes, very salty. They managed to get me to support them into Vienna, which was, in hindsight, a very bad idea, because that means they can try to vassalize Austria to get yet another ally against me. But they also did a convoy up to Bakshisaray, moving over to Jedison, getting a unit into Transylvania, and so on. That way they could guarantee Moldavia if they wanted to. But this is only a one-center stab. They could only get one center from this stab, because how hard it is for us to attack each other so far. Which made me think it was quite a useless stab, as it could ruin our relationship over just one supply center. The Ottoman player then decided to give me some context to all of this. So they were, of course, thinking that I was getting out of control, especially with the deal I had with Sweden. I told them just a little bit of it, and they got very worried about me just running away with the game and then ending up stabbing them in return, of course. So they decided to stab me. They had talked to Austria, Russia, Sweden, Netherlands, Spain, and I think even Qing. And they had all agreed to stab me. While Russia, of course, attacked me, and the Ottomans did, the Austrians decided to focus on defending against France. Spain did not attack me in South America, which I'm very, very thankful for. And Sweden, of course, followed through on the deal we arranged, as getting a vassalship might have been a better option for them at this point. Or at least the case I was making for them might have made them very interested in it.
Interesting that Sweden decided to do that, because he could easily have just bounced you out of Stockholm at this point.
I'm surprised as well, because that I think if Sweden followed through, this stab would have been a lot different. They would have been able to ensure I didn't grow, and that I would have a forefront war, which wouldn't have been that sweet, to say the least. But I had the Swedish player under my grip, in my grip diplomatically.
Under your thumb is the expression we use.
Oh yeah. Thank you. English is hard. So I'm very happy that I managed to get the Swedish on the side, because otherwise I think my game would have been a lot harder, to say the least. At this point, though, Salt is realizing that this stab did really not work out. Getting one center and then a forever war with me is not worth it for them. As I was at this point saying that I would make sure that this dot is the only one you'll get. I'm fine with I'm fine with making sure that other players have greater success than me against me than you, because you're the one I really trusted and really wanted to work with this game, which is a strategy I'm not really a fan of applying, and I'm not sure if I like that decision in hindsight. But they did agree, at least diplomatically, to back off and just like, okay, we can go back to what we had before with this very solid alliance. I can support you into Astrakhan here, and you get Vienna, and we can repair this. Which I, of course, accepted. But I was, of course, also very afraid that they would not commit to this. So I'll end up doing some aggressive moves against them in return, in case they attack me further, of course.
Makes sense. Gotta defend yourself.
Yes. But Sweden really decided to flow my game here. And I'm very thankful for the decision that they made, even though it might not have been the best long-term decision for them.
I see some good things happening for you in Africa, by the way.
Yes. Down in Africa, I'm able to cycle some units into Tukulur. I could have done a better move this season, being supporting myself into Timbuktu, since Bornu didn't support themselves there. And that could have just guaranteed my hold of Timbuktu. But sadly, I was a bit too careful in my movements.
It was a pretty good plan, actually, and I think thinking about what would have happened if you supported yourself into Timbuktu, you probably would have lost it in the fall because you don't.
Yeah, I think that's actually very true. Because I would have the Grunshi, Agades, and Chamba and Berbers on it. Yeah, I would probably have lost it. You're right.
The really shocking thing to me about Africa is the really shocking thing to me about Ottomans stabbing you is when I look at Africa, because they're still fighting with Bornu. They haven't managed to make peace there, which means it's really quite dangerous for them to alienate any of their anti-Bornu allies.
Yeah, it's very interesting, but that was also like one of my main arguments when argumenting with the Ottoman player to back off later, that you are about to lose your only ally against Bornu. I have no problem against just attacking the Dutch in Guinea instead, if you want to let Bornu run away with this game. So I'm very thankful that they ended up changing their mind about this stab.
Yes. Anything interesting going on in the Americas or Asia before we move on to the fall?
Yes, I believe there is. So here, me and France was talking a lot about how do we want to split the British, and the original idea was, of course, that I would gain the little center of Puerto Rico, but they decided that, oh no, I might have wanted this center all along. But they offered me something in return, actually, which I was happy with. As you can see, there's a small colony in French Guinea, or Guyana, actually, French Guyana, and they were offering that center to me in return.
Very interesting, and I think kind of smart by France, because although you never want to be in the position of giving up your own centers to other people, in this variant where coring exists, home centers are less precious than they otherwise would be, and he creates a contiguous colony for himself and a contiguous colony for you, and it also will make it, I think, more likely, from his perspective, it'll make it more likely that you invest further in South America rather than further in the Caribbean. And so if you can determine the direction of your future foreign policy by just giving up one center, that could end up being a very valuable investment.
Absolutely, and I think that's pretty much exactly what we agreed on. That this would enable us to have greater options of peace in the future, except instead of me just being boxed in by the French in all directions. So I think this little deal we had worked out quite nicely. I think it takes a year for me to take Cayenne here, but I will capture it down the line. since I need to move over to it first. But hopefully someone else won't take it before I reach it, right?
Hopefully not.
The Dutch. Yes, that would be quite sad. But I think the French did some good deals there with arguing that they should have Puerto Rico, even though I really like one of the centers up there.
Yeah, I think that hopefully this will be beneficial for both of you.
Yep.
We take a quick look at Asia, and then we can move on and see what happened in the fall.
Yep. So Qing is continuing their very rapid movements against the Russian. They're claiming Krasnoyarsk. Never mind. I misread the map. But they're moving a lot of units to take Krasnoyarsk up in the north. That big quadratic tile. Meanwhile,
Russia's
yeah. So here we actually have another Tokugawa NMR, and this is the last NMR we have before we get a new Tokugawa player, I believe. Thankfully, and this really accelerates both the Qing and the Ming, which is not something I'm very happy with.
Yeah, the damage is really done at this point. I don't know how much point there is in getting someone to take over Tokugawa when they're going to have 1 or 2 dots left at the end.
It's really not a lot, sadly. But maybe some chaos is just what I need to make that war a bit slower. Meanwhile, in the south, Ayutthaya is doing a rapid movements against the Mughals. They're managing to convoy a unit into Gondwana, which is a very good move, I think, and they're making themselves ready to strike Sasaran, and also some of the more southern centers here.
Yeah, if I'm a colonial here, I'm going to be very worried about Ayutthaya at this point. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, they're starting to run away, and it looks like they're also trying to stab Spain here, I think. If you take a look at the Philippines, they're trying to do some moves against them right here.
Everything is moving towards Spain. This unit, and then there are the units that are coring.
Yeah, this sure looks like a stab in my mind.
I think so.
Yep.
And they also tried to go after the Dutch, but the Dutch didn't move.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Spain has really managed to get a great position here in Asia overall, since they only started with 2 centers here, but now they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, which is very good, honestly.
It's a performance, but I do think they need to worry about reversals in the near future.
Yeah, it sure looks like it with this great Ayutthayan offense. But other than that, there's one thing we need to talk about with the Ottomans. If we take a look at Safavid, we see a little flag on the capital. That's because the Safavids are trying to become the Ottoman vassals. But since there's no flag about the Ottomans, that means they did not accept the vassalization. I think there was Salt was very unsure at this point if they wanted to vassal Safavids or not. But it looks like they might just end up taking 2 centers first, at least. Both Tabriz and Bandar Abbas.
Yeah, what do you think about the idea of vassaling Safavid here? Because
I was personally very much against it. I didn't want it to happen, and I argued very strongly for it during the space, because I imagined if they vassaled Safavids, that would free up all their armies in the east to instead attack me, which is something I'd not like. But as the Ottomans, I think so far I gain more from not vassalizing Safavids. And they did that decision, which I think is the correct one.
I think you're probably right as well, because the Safavids are just already so close to death here.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you were saying, the Ottomans are going to get 2 centers off of them right away, and if they vassaled them, they'd only get 1 anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So I think Salt made the correct move here so far.
Yes. All right, ready to move to fall.
Yep, let's do it.
Hi folks, Florida Man here with a small interjection. Just wanted to suggest, if you made it this far into the video, you must have liked it. I mean, you must have enjoyed it. So you should probably click the like button if you haven't already, like about 70 or 80% of the people who are watching. You know who you are. Go on. Now back to your regularly scheduled enjoyment.
This season was great for me, I think. As we can see, the Ottomans did as promised.
Yes.
They did back off. Whew. How sweet. They supported me into Vienna. They backed off from Moldova. They supported me into Astrakhan. And yeah, pretty sweet turn. And I might have taken more from Sweden than we agreed to.
You took everything. Sweden is a hollowed out husk.
Yes, I took Helsingfors, Umeå, Stockholm, and the Gothenburg. And the Copenhagen.
I mean, it kind of makes up for the fact that while taking one center from Russia, you lost another center.
Yeah, exactly.
Hated.
Yep. But this, I think this season was like the greatest during the entire game for me. But like as you can see, Sweden is assuming that we will vassal still, and they are supporting themselves over to the North Sea even. They're ready to attack the Dutch with me, and so on, and they're kicking out Russia from Trondheim. So they fully believe in this vassalship, and I honestly did as well, until like 20 minutes before the deadline, where I decided that no, okay, I can just stab them instead.
Oh my goodness, the poor Swede.
Yes, I don't think they would like to talk to me after this game. I stabbed them quite a number of times. Maybe I could have solved this situation a bit more diplomatically, or just fought them without continuing talking to them, even though I knew that I wished to continue attacking them, to build some sort of goodwill again. But they looked way too yummy. Too many centers that they left exposed, and I was pretty much sure that they saw no other option than trusting me at this point, since I was already in Stockholm. And I think I should not have gotten away with this play. It's a bit weird, but and it is not conflict. It's consequence of the vassal system, where there is this kind of incentive for the vassal to give centers to a potential sovereign, as they can just become vassalized after the fact, which creates a very weird dynamic, which creates scenarios like this. And I think it's worth to realize the errors in the system, even though I really enjoyed the results of this season.
I think that this is also just reminiscent of the popular saying, "The strong do what they wish, and the weak suffer what they must."
Yeah, pretty much. Very fair.
So it looks like elsewhere it's kind of like nothing moving for you.
Yeah, this is actually the season where I and the French decide that, all right, we're going to work together here, and we're going to stab the Spanish player together. Britain is going down soon, and we can push west together against Spain. So I actually kind of stab Spain here, going to Caribbean Sea in Caracas, and due to their moves, they will not be able to hold Caracas that easily without giving up a lot of other provinces. I believe.
I said this is a bold move. You and France are so tiny here.
Yeah, it's a very bold move, and I'm not sure like because basically I was in this situation where I wanted to continue growing in the Caribbean, but to do so I needed to start either Spain or France, and I preferred allying to Spain here because I think the centers in the Caribbean would be easier to hold in rather than those in South America. But Spain wasn't really willing to commit. And maybe I should just have waited. But one thing this entire attack did is that it might speed up Spain's ability, or rather will, to fight France since France actually attacks them.
Huh.
But I think this might have been a mistake still. I'm not sure. I gained some good favor with the French for doing this, but I'm risking a lot, especially since I don't have the correct number of units over in the Caribbean.
Well done. I think you have to take risks with this relatively small position here, so
yeah,
you know what you got to do.
Yeah, I also, of course, bounced out the Dutch of Perygl down in South America there. They tried to reclaim their old home center, and I'm very glad I managed to defend it.
Yeah. Oh, it looks like the Portuguese are...
Oh, yes, this... I think this is the season. Yes, I believe this is where Portugal decides to stab Spain. Which is why I also kind of joined in on the Spain attack.
This is all devastating for Spain, actually. Now that I know Portugal, Mapuche, you, and France are all attacking them.
Exactly. That's one of the big reasons I felt like kind of safe to attack them. And we, of course, also have Ottoman support up in Europe. And Ayutthaya support in Asia. Because Ayutthaya actually managed to get into the first Spanish center in the Philippines this year as well.
Ayutthaya also moved into a Portuguese center.
Yeah, Ayutthaya at this point is like, all right, I'm in such a dominant position over here in Asia now that I can comfortably fight all the colonials in their mind.
Ayutthaya is just a pirate. Oh yes, I am on your side. Let me occupy some centers, whatever. I don't care which side I'm on.
Yeah, then they fight the next one. Yeah, I think the game flow of Ayutthaya is quite like that. You can really go quickly if you do opportunistic allying with the colonials while they are fighting themselves.
And it's also very interesting to note Ayutthaya coring a center that is landlocked. So
yeah, might be hinting at their future goals.
Trouble in paradise.
Yeah, for sure. And the fact that they're getting into Hanoi over there is not good for Ming, I think.
Yes, I think Ming is in a great deal of trouble, potentially. It's interesting.
I don't agree.
Yeah. It's interesting that Ming is taking Macau from Portugal while also convoying Portugal into...
yes. Yeah, I think this was some sort of like, okay, I want to remain allies with you, but you're in the way. Please be gone.
I think that this is probably a good deal for Portugal, honestly. I think
I agree.
Defend all of these coastal centers from Ayu pretty soon, if I had to guess, without having really reviewed the future maps.
Yeah, no, I agree with your analysis there. Makes sense.
Are we to the next?
Yeah, I think we should be done here. There's one interesting thing done in South America we need to look at first. And this is that Portugal is taking the Mapuche capital.
Oh, are they going to vassal Mapuche, I wonder?
I think so, yes. I think this is where it happens. So basically, Portugal managed to stab Spain and have Mapuche on side, and meanwhile they vassal Mapuche. That way they can get their share of the win.
I'm kind of impressed with Portugal's courage because... You know, Spain in Europe is definitely, I think, well, if Spain actually didn't move out of Iberian Current, if Spain moved this army west somewhere, Portugal is looking really quite fragile, and it always seems that right up until Portugal stabs Spain.
Yeah, exactly. I think the build season might be quite interesting here. So I think we can roll over to builds and take a look at that.
So first,
yes,
yeah, number
we're in
one.
first place. We're in first place now, due to Sweden, mostly due to Sweden. And
you sacrifice Sweden. You're below where you started.
yeah, sorry Sweden. I had to sacrifice my own country. But as said, Grand Duke King Vladislav, he was the heir to Sweden. This was only right.
The Swedes must bleed.
Yes, they must.
Before heir can ascend the throne.
Exactly. But as we can see, the top of the leaderboard is getting very tight. Both Ayutthaya and Portugal is just 0.1% after me towards their victory condition. And Ottomans are just a couple percent behind that as well.
That's true. It's are close on all of your heels.
They are. So we're really getting into the middle of the game here, with people approaching 50%. And people are gaining tempo and solid alliances. As we can see, though, Spain still has 2 builds because they actually decided to spend like almost everything during their retreats. That way, they'll be able to defend some of their holdings in South America and Europe, I think.
Wow.
I think that was a pretty good strategy. They managed to transfer some units from the middle of South America, where Mapuche and Portugal stabbed, and move the builds north.
Very interesting.
I have to agree. Other than that, like Portugal had a great year. They went +7 here, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
And some other players had not so great years, but we're in the top. So
yes,
I wish to continue that.
I can't help but notice almost all of the native African powers having a very poor year.
Yeah, they are. That's for sure.
And Abyssinia are like basically holding steady.
Yeah, Bornu as well.
Yeah, Bornu not gaining anything. Congo down 1. It's interesting. It really speaks to they're not particularly making progress. They're just sort of butting heads with each other, and it's what you want to see, I guess, as a colonial.
Yeah, exactly. I'm personally happy with the conflicts in Africa. As long as I'm not targeted by Bornu, I'm pretty happy with the Africa situation.
I think you've made it very difficult for Bornu to get near you.
Yep. For now.
For now.
Moving on. I say we move on. So what do I build here? I think I build like 3 armies in Europe and a fleet. I finally built my second fleet after conquering most of Sweden.
Yeah. Wow.
Which is great. I managed to get that coast without becoming a naval power yet, which is very satisfying. In my colonies, I'm constructing yet another army in Africa, which means I have 1 more unit in Africa than I have supply centers now. Which is really I was considering to change directions in Africa here, I think, and stab the Dutch together with Bornu, but I don't think that's...
It looks to me you built another fleet in South America too.
Yes, finally. I finally got that second fleet in a 4th fleet in South America, which means that colony is now a lot more stable. That feels great, which means I can finally go on the offense again, just like I preferred.
Excellent.
Other than that, what's going on? Ottomans are preparing for a lot of convoys in the Mediterranean, and just generally putting down some armies. Not a lot of fleets actually this season. That will probably change later down the line.
So much trouble.
Yeah, Spain is in a lot of trouble, especially since Portugal is building 2 armies in Iberia, and a 3rd one in Azores, which can be brought over via convoy.
Oh my goodness.
Or I think that's an army at least. Yeah, that's an army.
Yeah, it is. It's an octagon.
Yeah.
Hexagon, rather.
Hexagon, yeah.
What did Spain ever do to deserve this?
Yeah, honestly, not a lot. They were a great player, and I really enjoyed playing with them. But when 4 players approached me and asked, do you wish to fight Spain with us? It was hard to deny. But I was already like here considering, okay, maybe it's time to change direction in the Caribbean. Because I don't think I actually gain anything from Spain here, because they can defend Cartagena if they woke up Huitoto to Bogota and Panama to Cartagena. So sadly, my campaign for Cartagena might fail.
It doesn't look like they can defend it to me. They
lose it in spring, but if I remember correctly, they had enough fleets in the north to cycle down for defense. But I think I still tried to take it in spring, but realized that I can't take it fall or something like that. We'll have to see. I'm a bit unsure of exactly what's happened.
All right. Well, let's put an end to the mystery. Any other builds, though, that you want to note before we move on?
I don't remember. I don't think there's anything in particular. I think the Portugal builds were the most important.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me.
Yep.
Now,
all right, let's have a look.
Let's see what madness unfolds. Let's go to South America first, because that's what we were just talking about.
Yeah, so it looks like, I'm pretty much, I'm trying to get Cartagena, but as you can see, they're moving up all their armies, really. So that will not be possible to hold.
Yeah. It's partially because you tried to move in 2 directions at once. You're taking...
Yeah.
But this fleet is moving further here to get the French center. If this fleet moved here, then you wouldn't have to worry about Spain potentially.
True.
And this fleet also needed to move into the vacant space you left when you...
Yeah, exactly. I think I just got a bit too greedy here with going in 2 directions when I have 4 units.
In fairness, could you really have expected that Spain is going to prioritize Cartagena over everything? Because Spain is vacating a home center here to move toward Cartagena, and also is moving this north toward Cartagena. Spain took your stab more personally than anyone else's.
It sure looks like that, sadly. Yeah, it sadly looks like that, which is unfortunate, but it might open up a path for future cooperations. Since I say that, okay, I'm done. And they are very they really want allies right now. So
makes sense.
But as we can see, talking about Portugal, they are indeed vassalizing Mapuche here.
Very good.
Yeah, so that it pretty much just allows them to capture almost the entirety of South America through this vassalization.
Wow, that's a big power move for Portugal.
It really is. It's super aggressive, and while that it's a very big vassal, so it might be hard to control, and not let it infiltrate your own ranks. But it's a very interesting position, that's for sure.
Yeah, interesting, and right now very strong.
For sure, especially since they're also making great moves against Congo in Africa. As we can see, they're taking Bambuti, they're moving to Chona, and they're already in Lundaluba, down in south, which is very impressive. But they're of course losing Matupa as well, so balances out a bit. But they're playing a very aggressive game at this point.
Portugal is a very successful conqueror in this game.
Yeah, they are, for sure. And they're also looking to win the entirety of India very soon. They're about to finish off the southern Dutch dots over there. So this could be very interesting to see how they deal with it. Sadly, I think they're losing some stuff in Arabia, though, to the Ottomans.
Yeah, I think that was probably inevitable if the Ottomans continued to be a significant power.
Absolutely. Yeah, the fact that they held on to that colony for so long is good enough. It's a hard colony to hold on to long term if you're not able to support it early on.
Yeah, I think maybe, in retrospect, maybe what you need to do in order to hold it is to work with the Safavids against Ottomans.
I think that might be correct. Yeah, you really try to push westwards towards Ottomans with Safavid, take Riyadh, maybe Mara down the line. Who knows? I think there's option for cooperation between the two powers against Ottomans.
Yes.
Very interesting.
I see you're not really advancing in Africa.
Yes, sadly.
Relative to Bornu.
Yeah, and sadly they're able to put another unit on the front line here in Agadez. Because sadly, my ally, Salt, decided to disband the units they had in the middle of Bornu in an attempt to save their African holdings.
I don't think that's going to be very successful, if I had to guess.
Yeah, they stab Abyssinia this season, Salt, that is. But Bornu is also very much on their border in Tripoli.
Yeah, I think that Salt may have made a miscalculation here.
Yep. Meanwhile, in Europe, Salt ends up actually vassalizing the Safavids now, which is a decision I was, of course, still not a big fan of. Yeah, oh yes, and Sweden tries to become my vassal, which I do not accept.
Sweden doesn't understand yet that this is a war of conquest.
Yes, they still they accept my excuse of me, because remember, when you vassal someone, you tax 1/4 of their centers. Mm-hmm. But my argument was that, oh yes, I still want your fleets. They are very useful, but you see, if I don't take some more of your dots first, that will slow us down. It will slow us down as I don't get as many centers towards my winning condition. And at this point, I'm realizing that Swedish player is very gullible, and sadly,
if you're watching this,
yeah,
goodness,
I'm very sorry to the Swedish player that I did this repeated stabbing of them, and I think towards the end of their game, I think there was actually a few moments where I did want to collaborate with them, and I think I did a mistake not collaborating with them later on. But we'll get to that point later down the line. I'll mention it when it happens.
Anything big you want to note going on besides you're successfully continuing to invade Russia and, choosing not to vassal Sweden yet?
Yeah, no, but I think that attacks go smoothly here. I also make decent progress against Austria here. And I think this is also the season where I and Salt approach Austria about a deal. Because basically, the line against France is, as I said, almost a stalemate line. It's very hard to break through, and you really need some good tactics or positioning to break the line. And Austria had a unit and a particular tile that we really needed to break that line. So what we said was that if they managed to hold on, the French, just one more year, I would vassal them to ensure that they would get credit for their work against France. And if they didn't, we would just roll over them instead. This is a deal I intend to honor because I think the Austrian player really had played a good game so far diplomatically. They were a very competent player caught in a very bad position. And I wanted to give them credit for the great moves they have had pulled off defending against France so far.
Fair enough. Looks like elsewhere, in addition to trying to finish off Russia,
oh yes,
Qing is starting to invade Ming.
Yeah, we were talking about the Ayutthaya building or coring close to Ming, and we might now see why. Because the Qing is ending the Eastern Triple Alliance, doing a smooth attack south. It's honestly brutal.
Yeah, this is I don't know how Ming is supposed to resist this, honestly. But
No, it's such a crushing stab. Like they get into both the Korean centers here. I think they get into Beijing, and I think they might get one more dot from the Ming here. But like the Ming is completely out of position at this point.
yeah, Ming is just mostly focused on invading Tokugawa.
Yeah,
For some reason, Ming decides to start coring a center instead of tapping the IU unit to prevent it.
yeah, yeah. I think they were like, okay, if you're gonna have a core here, I want to have a core here as well.
That's cute.
Rather than arguing that none of us should have a core here.
I think that Ming was really hoping that things would, continue moving in a positive direction for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we can all see where it's going to go now.
Yep. Sadly, I think the Ming might be doomed from this point on.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, right. We discussed the western side of the board. We still have some. Oh yeah, this is also where Inuits attack Papaska from behind.
Oh my gosh. This is a
which yeah, it's a very aggressive season. That's for sure.
It looks like a very fatal attack, honestly.
Yeah, it does.
I think they're going to absorb like half of Athapaska within a year.
Yep. Yeah, it was really a brutal stab on that end as well. Very well played by Tyler, who played Athapaska, who played the Inuits. Really solid player.
Yeah, and all this same at the same time, Athapaska is going after Sioux.
Yeah, I don't know why. It seems like Sioux is falling back from Athapaska here a bit.
Yeah, Sioux is attacking Spain in the south.
Yeah, who is that? Sioux is of course in this mega coalition we made against Spain. But it seems like Athapaska is catching their back while Inuit is catching their back.
Yeah, man. It's a real situation.
Poor Sioux and Athapaska.
Yes, I feel sorry for these fish that are eating each other and the other fish.
Yes, exactly.
Bigger fish.
It's always a bigger fish. Being they can hoard. No, but the Inuits, they are really starting to take dominance of the seas here. As we can see, they have fleets in almost all of the northernmost seas. They have a lot of fleets in the North Atlantic and so on. So, yeah.
Yeah, and they've taken firm possession of the easternmost part of Russia.
Yep.
As well as this. I expect that they're probably going to end up, if I had to guess, taking Iceland and maybe even parts of Sweden and Britain.
Yep. Yeah, at this point, Inuits were really requesting a center or two in Norway from me. And I was seeing how they were just slowly getting centers from everyone all across the board. For example, they are during this season also convoying into the northern point of Russia, of Dorsk, which I'm not a big fan of. I want to. Yeah, exactly, that convoy. Because I really aimed to later grab that center, but it seemed like the Inuits came first.
Seems like something might need to be done about them if you have the time and the ability and the...
Yeah,
but
for sure.
I bet Sweden would have come in handy for that.
Yeah, I think Sweden's fleet could have allowed me to slow down the Inuits. But I might have gotten a tad bit too greedy. Who knows?
We'll see what happens in the fall.
Yeah, for sure. Right, so in fall, we have this very weird situation in Russia. So both I and Cheng end up supporting Inuits to Shelyava, inland the Russian center.
Oh.
For some reason, So basically, Cheng and Inuits have had this great relationship the entire game, and the Inuits were saying to me, "Okay, Cheng is supporting me into Shelyava. You will sadly not get it. Feel free to support me there to show goodwill."
Wow, that's quite. Oh, I was just going to say that's quite a bold way to engage in diplomacy. You just tell people how it's going to be.
Yeah, Yeah, I was not a big fan. That's for sure.
It looks like the Inuits are really pulling off a lot here. They're taking Iceland or Reykjavik. So they're attacking France. They're attacking Russia. They're attacking Sweden.
Oh, yeah, by the way, that convoy to Sweden, that's not the Inuit unit. They're convoying Russia to Norway.
I see that, yes.
Which is very funny.
They got Russia to abandon one of their home centers because it was indefensible, and instead to take a Swedish center.
Yep. And honestly, I was not fully against that because, as you can see, I got into Arkhangelsk and Novgorod here, which I'm a big fan of. And I was actually meant to vassalize at least Austria this season, but I forgot to input that order. And for Russia, I intended to vassalize them next spring, but they haven't really caught up on that. So they tried to become my vassal here as well. But with the Russian in Perygl, I could really use them to break the Swedish defense in return for the vassalship.
This is very interesting because, if you had just... Man, I really do see the consequence of you not vassalizing Sweden here. Because if you had, you wouldn't need Russia to break his defense. I really see Inuit convoying this unit as like a way of trying to break any possible resistance by Sweden to him.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah. I mean,
Tyler, the player who played, it's such a good diplomat. He really has that silver tongue. And there was very few centers this entire game which was not agreed upon, or at least kind of agreed upon, which is very interesting. I've read some of his press after the game ended, and he's good at it. That's for sure. No, but the entire position is very interesting here. We help Austria defend against France while taking the dots we have agreed to take from them before I vassal them. And I'm taking Russian dots, and I'm moving towards taking Swedish dots. This season is mostly on my end, just like maintenance, slowly preparing me for next year, pretty much.
Interesting.
And we also see the Ottomans slowly demilitarizing the area between us.
It's so nice of them.
Yeah, very nice actually. I very much enjoy it. I and Salt discussed our lines after the game ended, and they said that they pretty much considered stabbing me every season. But I just had too many armies to make it worth it. Which was great. So in case I would start, I think if there was a moment where I did not do well, that would have stabbed me. But I continued to do well, fortunately.
Yes.
That way I could consistently place new armies at home and defend myself.
Wow. I don't think this is a very high activity season for you, honestly.
Yeah.
I think that the stabbiness is perhaps coming home to roost a bit. You're in a lot of wars, and it's hard for you to, I guess, make progress in some of them. And it looks like the Dutch are maybe trying to attack you for some reason. Africa.
And Spain as well.
Well, Spain's attacking you, but they're also supporting you out as if that was
Caribbean, yeah.
Was that arranged? Are you
Yes, it was. It was arranged. It was arranged. I'm saying here, okay, so Britain's dying in the Caribbean this year, so now we can successfully attack France. Let's go. I'll walk into Caribbean Sea with Cartagena, support me there, and we're good to go. But they also, of course, walked into Sierra Leone Rise in Africa, right next to my two chord centers, just as safety. Not sure.
I can't help but notice one note in the Americas. I note that the Portuguese vassal of Mapuche seems to be coring units that are on the border, centered on the border with Portugal.
Yeah, I don't think Portugal was a great fan of that.
Yeah, I'd be concerned about that myself, I think.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, it's very interesting for sure. This whole Portuguese Mapuche situation. We'll have to see if it lasts.
Yeah, I can't imagine it just ending calmly, honestly.
Yes.
Hi, folks. Florida Man here, bringing you a commercial break to promote my book, Ruthless, Path of Conquest. Main title is Path of Conquest, series title is Ruthless. The series is being released by the publisher Podium. The first book will soon be available on Amazon and Audible for those of you who prefer to listen rather than reading a text. This novel is a fantasy in an apocalyptic Earth setting, and here's the description that my publisher prepared for it. The end of the world affords a restless everyman the chance to be a fearless warrior in this exciting apocalyptic adventure filled with magic and monsters. James Robard was a risk-taking con artist and thief before he turned over a new leaf as a loving husband and a dull suit in a law firm. He's never felt so unadventurous. That is, until the system descends upon Earth, and he's initiated into a thrilling game world of magic and mayhem, training for exhilarating challenges that make him feel alive again. With much of the Earth's population already wiped out, James's first mission is to survive. But the system sees much more in him, like his potential as a warrior. After all, it's judging him by his nefarious past. It knows he'd kill to outlast the dangers ahead, and be reunited with his family. In fact, it's counting on it. It seems the system has found its game villain. Forging a path of escalating stamina, mana, and skills, James is tossed into violent combat with ravenous monsters, treacherous humans, diabolical cults, and gods of less than divine intervention. The life and death risks and total abandon are giving James a rush. He's been given free rein to be ruthless. But being a pioneer of chaos has its consequences. Torn between his power-hungry impulses and better instincts, James embarks on a journey of self-discovery through a cataclysmic new realm. And along with a band of fellow survivors, he's about to find out his true purpose in the system's apocalyptic endgame. And now back to your regularly scheduled programming. But back to Fall 1646.
Yes, alright. So
Where should we do next?
I think we discussed most things for this season. I believe, because we discussed the Inuits, we discussed my doings in Europe, and the Spain, Mapuche, Portugal stuff. So I think we're ready to walk into winter.
All right. And looks like you are still ranked number 1.
I'm still standing in number 1, even though Ayutthaya and the Inuits and the Ottomans are close behind me. Yeah. But I'm managing to stay at the top still. Which is, wow, I'm surprised. But we're getting players who are like picking up the contention, or like France is on the rise right now. They're going +6 here. They're far from the first couple spots, but they are on the rise. That's for sure. But I think for France to win, they need to, for example, beat me in Europe. And with my dominant position, I hope that won't happen.
Yeah, I think for France to cross through Austria is very, very difficult. I think for them to do that, it's necessary to get the Ottomans' help.
Yeah, exactly. And there was a lot of talk within our little triangle. I talked a lot to both Ottomans and France, and Ottomans almost stabbed me together with France. But I think they were afraid of the army horde in the north. So Ottomans refused to stab in them, which I'm very glad to. But I think we gotta see that on the map. Some players are going down this year, and we actually have our first death of the map. Mughal.
Goodness.
Even though Mughals looked to be in the dominant position like just 2 or 3 years ago, they have fallen very quickly, and they're now the first player out of the game. Not something I'd expect.
Yeah, no, I think when I looked at Mughal's position on the map early on, honestly, I felt like it was a good position.
Yeah, I agree.
It has a lot of potential, but with the colonials kind of working against them, and also the Russians and the Ming. It was really just horrible melee on all sides from Mughals' perspective from the beginning of the game, I think. And Ayutthaya, of course, is the major oppressor.
Yeah, Ayutthaya is doing very well, and they only need 8 more centers for 100%.
Oh my goodness.
Which is very scary. I need 11, Inuits need 11, and Salt needs 14. So
I think you said this before, but out of all the powers, Ayutthaya definitely the most broken.
They really are. It's very. They have been performing very well over all 3 of her games, and yeah, likely will need some adjustments.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's see what people build.
Yeah. So I think I might.
You had 5 builds.
Yep, 5 builds, and I think there will be 1 in each colony.
A fleet finally.
Yes, I build another fleet in New Kurland, and I build a fleet in Dakar. Which is against mine and Portugal's deal, but I think they actually approved this one. I asked if I could build a fleet, that way I could slowly make my way towards Netherlands, but they right now wanted to attack together. So I had this was the moment where I had my great excuse to get a fleet.
Well, good for you. That is a good excuse.
Yep. Covert is of course very open and looks very yummy to pick up, but if I remember correctly, I'm keeping myself from it.
That might be the smart thing to do, given how tough Portugal is in areas where you're still somewhat vulnerable.
Yeah. If Portugal wanted to kill me in South America, they could try to mobilize all their fleets through South Atlantic and just go in, and I think that would end up very badly for me.
I do think you could make it very slow for them because there's this big ocean space of Guiana Current that kind of blocks you from attack.
Yeah, fair.
But yeah, especially if that was broken up, it might be a lot easier to go after these colonies.
Yeah, it's a very big tile right now, and it might need to get some twists.
Yeah, I can see a very strong stalemate position.
Yeah.
Considering it only borders South Atlantic Ocean as well, rather than North Atlantic.
Yeah, it could be quite interesting if it bordered both of them.
Like
that would be.
Does.
Yeah, that would be a very interesting tile, and that's in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. I think I would agree with you. Yep. Any other noteworthy builds?
I'm not sure. I think Portugal just builds another army here in Europe. France and the Ottomans are preparing for war, and I'm starting to slowly build my fleets over in Europe.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah, other than that, I think nothing really special happens that I remember.
Okay. Well, that's a good reason to move on to spring.
All right. Let's see here.
Where do you want to start?
I think. Wait, is this? Yes, it's the spring map. Let's take a look at Europe.
It looks like I accidentally.
Oh yeah, okay.
I accidentally included spring. I only included fall.
If I have the fall map in front of me, I can quickly explain what happened in spring.
Yes, thank you.
No worries. If you zoom in on Europe, we'll start with that.
Thank you. Let's do it. Go ahead.
So, to begin with, I think the Ottoman game is far more important than mine this season. I'm just doing it myself. But this season, Ottomans really are committing against France in the Mediterranean. They are in a position to take both Baleares and Corse from the French, and they're pushing for Venice as well. Me and Austria is still collaborating. We choose to not vassalize Austria yet, out of their own interest, because
their own interest.
Yes, they asked me to not vassalize them yet, for the simple reason that we would lose a very important unit on the front line.
Mm-hmm.
So due to the vassal tax, so they asked me to they asked to wait with the vassalship, which is why there still is a flag on mine. We arranged it so that it would look like I refused them the vassalship. That way they could build some trust with France. And I think it worked out pretty smoothly because basically at this point France was saying that, oh, okay, help me against Poland and Ottomans, and I'll make sure that I vassalize you once I reach Vienna, and so on. It was I don't know if that would have held in the long run, but we decided to wait with the Austria vassal as they requested it, and I was it's their choice really. So
well, you can hardly fault it for giving them what they want. Yes,
exactly. I think it's a very fair argument to keep a very particular unit on the front line, which we needed to break the position. There's a lot of vassalships going on this season. I'm also vassaling Russia. In an attempt by me and Ottomans to basically have this like a proxy area in Asia where we couldn't really attack each other without having to attack each other's vassals first. Sadly, Russia forgets to do everything except taking my vassalship this season, so we're not advancing as quickly as we wish to. But basically, the Safavid and Russia positions allows us to more peacefully hold the border, because at this point I was super worried that they would still end up allying France against me, so I was trying to set up a situation where it would be very hard for Salt to stop me.
Very interesting. You're still mostly worrying about Salt then, about the Ottoman.
I am. They are known as one of the most stabby players in our entire community, and so I need to be very cautious around them. Even though we have basically worked since spring year 1, except for that little hiccup in year 4. But other than that, this season moves on smoothly. I'm taking a center in Sweden. I'm taking a center against Netherlands. I and Spain are pushing in South America, and there's a very fun convoy this season. So if you scroll down a little bit, you can see that the first Polish transatlantic journey is made. The Dutch and I collaborate and together convoy one of my armies from Africa to the Caribbean.
Well, that's fun.
It's very funny, and basically the reason why I wanted this army there was that, okay, I can't progress in Africa anymore, so I convoy the army to Caribbean, and I can let it core my centers, because it's not a fleet. It's not useful in the Caribbean, but it can still core my centers, right?
Right.
So that was the idea with that army over in the Caribbean. And Spain are making progress against France, and around that, I think on my end, this is a fairly uneventful season. The other powers around the board are making progress in their wars, and especially Inuits. Yeah, I think at this point they're currently setting up to vassalize Athabasca, the pink power over in America.
Makes sense.
After their rapid victory. So the competition is growing, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I've managed to talk my way into getting Inuits to slowly back off over in Russia, and then they will give me those centers next year. But of course, Cheng also tried to take them. So
funny how that happens.
Yeah, that was arranged by the Inuits, sadly. I got to know later on. But still, it was a pretty good year for me. I got most of the centers I wished for. Then, yeah, we're in a position to go into the end game as one of the winners.
Well, you have nothing to be embarrassed about in your conduct of this game, I would say.
All right, let's move on. I think So I'm actually losing my first spot here to 2 players. Ayutthaya is taking first place, only 3 centers away from their victory condition.
Wow.
And the Inuits are taking second spot. So yeah, it's starting to look very close. And I think this is time where we need to explain the victory conditions of this game.
Please do.
So there is 3 ways for this game to end. The first one is armistice. Armistice is comparable to the standard diplomacy draw, but for an armistice to go through, only 80% of players need to say yes, which is a bit of a weird rule, and I think that might be changed in the future. But it's a rule we have chosen to borrow from some other world-size variants, and
there are 24 players, so if you required 100% of them to say yes, even with 2 dead, like, imagine if little Austria wanted to hold things up, trying to...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it would. The armistice rules are interesting. But one thing that makes it even more interesting is that the sovereign gets the vote of their vassal. So I, for example, have 2 votes, while the Ottomans actually have 3 votes here in the armistice. Very interesting. It's starting to look very scary for us, though, and we're afraid that we might see a pax. A pax is a different way to win this game, where one power reaches 100% of their victory condition and then holds first place for 3 years in a row. If they do that, they win the game alone. The third way to end the game is Imperial Unity. Imperial Unity is a way for multiple players to win together. And this was what I was hoping that game would currently end in, as I would hope to claim an Imperial Unity with Ayutthaya, Inuits, and Ottomans. The way Imperial Unity works is that a group of people above 100% of their victory condition can suggest Imperial Unity if they together have a lead of 25% compared to all other players. If all players in this group accept the Imperial Unity, all those players win and the game ends.
Sounds like you need to do something about Portugal then.
Yeah, Portugal is a bit too high right now, and Qing is approaching that territory as well. So if we want Imperial Unity, we might have to shut down a couple players first.
Well, I guess you guys will do your best.
Yep. Let's move on to the next phase.
All right, in the builds.
In the builds, I think I build yet another fleet in the Caribbean, readying myself to strike France. Yep. While I build just a couple more armies in Europe.
Yep, including in your capital. How nice.
Yes. One of the first time I've actually done that. Mostly I built towards the border. But this time I've built in Warsaw just to make myself able to stab Salt if I wanted to. Yes, it was on the table around this time actually. And I was very much considering just sweeping south here. They had a lot of exposed centers and we could do it.
That might have been up to the top of the board again.
Yeah, for sure.
But then Salt has a pretty good number of armies too.
He does. At least he's not building that many in the Balkans.
That's true.
I think we move on to the spring.
Yes.
Let's see here. Okay, so I think this is the season where I actually enter my orders while being at a party.
Good show.
Which is why I core in total like 5 centers. Not knowing what to do, I choose to core. And we have a very interesting order set in the south. Oh yeah, I'll mention that quickly. True. The Netherlands are actually vassalizing England here, which is very interesting.
That's funny.
Yep.
Britain was so strong at the very beginning of this game, but then when France attacked them, it really took them down pretty quickly. Surprising.
Yeah. Really did. But there's one very interesting fact about this about this season. Because basically right here, I'm trying to make peace with Bornu. And one of the things they wanted from me to make peace was that I would attack Salt.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically I and Salt decided to arrange a stab. Where I would move a lot of units south. I don't think the stab actually looks that believable as a fake stab here. But I put myself in a position where I can guarantee at least one Ottoman center in Caucasus. But basically, this was a fake stab on the Ottomans in an attempt to gain a goodwill with Bornu. That way, we could together attack the Netherlands. Down in Africa together, but I don't think they ever was that interested in it.
It's interesting. I think Bornu was making a mistake. I mean,
they could have been gaining centers because at the same time the Dutch are stabbing them.
Yes, and that's pretty funny. Bornu were trying to lower their guard relative to the Dutch. The Dutch are, clearly ready to take advantage of that. In fact, the Dutch are within striking distance of the capital of Bornu.
Yes, they can guarantee, the Dutch can literally guarantee the capital of Bornu right now. And I was hoping that the combination of me getting the Dutch to stab and with me arranging this fake stab on Salt would put me in a position where I could successfully gain an ally in Bornu. And for a very long time during this phase, it seemed like I would. But we'll get back to that entire situation soon, I'd say. Because first, I say we take a small look at South America, where I and Spain are making steady progress in kicking out the French. They're successfully taking Bahamas from France here, while we slowly encircle all their other islands, ready to strike in the fall.
Yeah, the French are in some pretty serious trouble. I think that I bet they never saw this coming. Honestly, I mean,
yep. It's been great because at the same time as we stab the French up in Americas, Netherlands stabs them in America, Netherlands stabs them in Europe, Portugal stabs them in Europe, Ottoman stabs them in Europe, Inuit stabs them in America. So we have this very big coalition going on against the French here.
Yeah, I can't help but wonder if just because of the fact that Inuit is stabbing them, if maybe going after them is actually counterproductive right now.
Yes, I think it might, because I think this after this season, basically the French players subs out, which is very unfortunate. I'd like to have them keep playing, but because they're one of my favorite diplomacy players. But it was too much, sadly. And
they're under a lot of pressure.
Yeah, they are. We can also see that Apapaska goes under the rule of the Inuits here. The first vassal to go to Inuits, and Inuits are starting to look very dominant. They're gaining centers in Norway, over in Americas, and it's not looking good for us.
And their vassal is taking advantage of the weakness of Spain, attacking.
Yep. Yeah, it's not looking great. I'm just hoping at this point that I can gain centers quickly enough to still be included in a win. But it's starting to look very shaky.
Yeah, mostly I think that those Inuits are deadly.
They are. They really are. But I am getting the first Inuit center over here in Europe now, which I'm very happy with. Meanwhile, Qing is really collapsing down on the Ming now, together with the Ayutthaya. And we also have this funny Ottoman-Ayutthaya alliance down in India now, as they're together fighting Portugal.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, Ottoman reaching India was not something I was expecting when I started playing this game.
It makes a lot of sense to me as a destination for the Ottomans.
Yeah, fair. I guess they funnel all their fleets there and they go.
And it's a reflection of real history, too.
Yeah, true. It is. Yeah, this game has really started to propel forward very quickly now. Everyone's trying to just snatch as much as they can right now, make sure that they are still in the contention of being a winner.
At this point, it's a race.
It's a race. We're all race cars. and we don't want to be slow.
Well,
but other than that, I think we're done with spring.
Yeah, and here's the fall.
Yep, it's becoming a lot more simple.
Yes, a lot of vassal relationships, a lot of, well, not a lot, but a handful of people approaching the victory.
Yep, so this is, I make a great mistake this season, actually. While it's not a mistake resulting in me losing supply centers or something like that, this is where the point I was talking about, where I really should have collaborated with Sweden.
Did Sweden try to become your vassal again?
Yes, and I haven't talked with them for like 3 years now, and we talked a lot this season, because basically, as you can see, Inuits are about to grab Trondheim here, and the only way for me to break Trondheim was if I had supported Sweden. Okay. But Sweden, of course, didn't want to support me into their last center. That makes sense.
Yes.
Fair. So basically, what I was offering them is that I support them into Trondheim while they become my vassal. So it basically becomes my center through the vassal tax, and we get Inuits to not hold that center, because that center was the difference between them hitting 100%.
Wow.
Yeah. And I thought that I, for some reason, needed the Inuits to break the Netherlands in Europe. And this was honestly my greatest mistake all game. If I had just supported Sweden into Trondheim, we might have been able to delay the Inuit reaching the victory condition way earlier. Because now they have alone reached their victory condition, which means the Pax timer started, and also that they might be able to even claim Imperial unity alone next year if we're not careful. Yeah, very bad play on my end, and I think this might result in some of the events that are about to happen. Some of the events. One of the events of all time.
One of the events of all time, indeed.
Yep. I did Vassal Austria here, though. So that's something.
Oh, yes. Congratulations. You acquired another vassal.
Yes. Which is important, as I might need a vote for doing an armistice next year.
It's looking like you might have lost your other vassal, or...
They still survive in Asken, thankfully. But it was very close to me losing that vassal. I'm just trying to keep them alive at this point for the vote in the armistice, in case I need it.
That's kind of hilarious how important vassals could end up being for voting.
Yeah, it's very interesting in my mind. I really like it.
You know, I really think this is one of the most interesting parts of these global variants is this vassal thing, and probably something to keep. And you know, maybe it doesn't need to be changed very much.
I think the main thing that needs to be changed is the rank boost that the vassal gets, because of the events that are about to happen. I don't know if you have checked the end results map, but stuff are about to go down.
All right, I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Yes, so the last thing is just I'm claiming my first centers in the Caribbean properly here. I'm getting both a center on Haiti, and while I also capture both Barbuda and not Puerto Rico yet, but I think I get Puerto Rico next year.
Great.
Yep. All right. So the Inuits alone at 100% here. I'm third place, Ottoman second place, and Ayutthaya fourth place. We're all very close to the win, but Inuits are just above us.
I mean, it looks like you've made almost no progress since last year.
Yep.
Fortunately.
Yeah. The reason why I have 7 builds is that I had like a couple of forced disbands in Africa after Bornu stabbed me there. We forgot to check that, but it's basically Bornu stabbed me. Very unfortunate. I didn't lose any centers, but
wow. Yeah. We knew Bornu was attacking you, so I'm not surprised, unfortunately.
Yep. All right, let's move on.
Anything?
At this point, I don't think builds are important. They're microscopic in the feel of the game here. But anyways, so this season, I think in South America, I'm slowly just pushing towards getting some more centers. Oh wait, no, we need to look at this because this is way too fun. Look at South America, please.
All right. Here we go.
So basically, I'm starting to establish a continental presence here. I'm convoying another army down to Guyana, and I will be able to start guaranteeing my first centers down on the South American continent properly here, which is a lot of fun in my mind. The Polish South American colony reaches for the sky.
For Poland.
Yep. No, but it was a lot of fun over there. Over in Africa, we have a very defensive year, not a lot of stuff happening. I'm shuffling a fleet into the South Atlantic, officially touching the first high sea tile of the game. Very nice. Meanwhile, over in Europe, where I think the most interesting stuff, of course, happens, we have a Britain vassalizing to the Inuits, first of many. There's a convoy into Normandy, picking Inuit unit from Greenland all the way over to France, and it's on its way over to Paris.
Oh, I see.
To vassalize the French.
And if I had to guess, I would suggest that the Sioux might also vassalize to the Inuits, but I don't know if they're actually going to do it.
Not yet. But it's starting to look very scary. Over in Europe here, I mainly try to advance my position as quickly as possible in Norway, and I managed to take back Obdorsk and Trondheim. Partly with Inuit the consent from the Inuits, because they accepted that it was not worth the fight, pretty much. And they wanted to focus on vassalizing people instead. But we make progress, some slow gains, but overall, everyone is just rushing for centers at this point. It's becoming very scary. We realize the threat the Inuit has, and we try to force an armistice at this point, but the vote fails, as all the Inuit potential vassals vote no.
Yes, that makes sense.
Yep.
All rejected until they get the chance to actually become part of the empire.
Yep, exactly. All right. I think we can move on to fall here.
Yes, here we are.
So at this point, I'm just continuing in my pushes here in both South America and in Europe. We're putting ourselves in a position where we can take some Portuguese centers next year. While in Europe, we are just slowly consolidating our position while trying to core Arkhangelsk. That way we can challenge the Northern Inuit fleet. It might be too late, but we'll try our best.
It's interesting. And
while
attacking Qing.
Yes, I'm also attacking Qing, who actually retreats a bit. While quite something happens. There's a convoy onto their home territory. Inuit units have landed.
Oh no.
Inuit units have landed in Haishenbai. And it looks like the Qing also wants to join the ranks of the Inuits.
Are they small enough for that?
Not yet, but they are hoping that with the growth Inuits are gaining and some of their losses they're getting from me and Ayutthaya, they will be small enough. Now we're starting to see some issues, yeah?
Yes. Oh my goodness.
And as we can see, Inuits are now at 123. Both me and Ayutthaya have reached challenger status now. But it's looking bad. Very bad. Very, very bad.
Oh my god, and the Qing are actually at about half of Inuit conditions, but, you know, and Inuit only has to get a little bit larger or smaller for them to be able to actually vassal to them.
Yep. Oh. It's becoming very scary.
Is this how the game ends?
It's looking that way. I think we can just quickly go through this year.
Yes.
Because it's more of the same. Some people are becoming vassals of the Inuits. The rest of us are trying to fight back as hard as possible. But it's starting to look very dire. I'm gaining ground.
The Sioux do get vassalized here.
Yep, they're getting vassalized. And the French. Yeah, and I think at this point, even there's an Inuit unit, even in Amsterdam. and even the Dutch attempt are aiming to become Inuit's vassal.
I see the incentive problem now.
Yes, this is the problem.
The snowball.
It's really a snowball, and as we can see, they're also walking into the Qing capital. While a fleet is prepared to convoy an army potentially to the Ming capital as well.
Well, that makes sense. The Ming wouldn't want to be left out.
Yeah, they're not why we left out. Yeah, we're really starting to see the issues with the system here, I think.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
But part of it is very much due to Tyler. He has a silver tongue, but there's also an issue with the system.
I mean, yeah, they should all want to be vassals to him at this point.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're all up there. It doesn't even matter how many. It only matters how many centers they have in terms of their relative rank to each other. But they're all ranking above, even you, which is madness. The leaderboard is actually a bit weird. It's a bit misleading because basically the way people are ranked is first we have the winners. Right. Then we have the challengers, those being the ones over 100%. Then we have the winning vassals. Okay.
So I will still end up above all the vassals. It just looks that the leaderboard is just a bit misleading.
Yes. Okay. That does make some sense as well. That way the incentives aren't too perverse.
Yes, exactly. It's still extreme though.
Yeah. All right. We're in the final year of the game.
Yes. The final year of the game is, I believe this is actually the final season. This is the final season, and there's just a lot of vassalizations. And after that point, the Inuits pretty much have secured a solo win.
Yeah, they vassal the Dutch. The Dutch still had, a fair, well, not much actually, but some stuff in Africa. Yeah, but basically at this point, Inuits introduce a game of chance, because while they have the solo win under their belt, they still kind of feel bad for not letting me, Ayutthaya, and the Ottoman win with them, because they think we also did well, but I think it's very clear that they did better than us. So at this point, after some discussions and so on, the game actually does end. Right there, I thought I'd just give my final thoughts here on the endgame position. Mostly, this was really supposed to become an Inuit solo win, but Tyler was, of course, very generous and did something special for this game. While he wanted the solo win, I think he also thought that the rest of us, being me, Ottomans, and Ayutthaya, did well enough to earn the win in his mind. So what he did was maybe something that won't be repeated, is that he had a bit of a game of random chance. He decided to do some rolls, and if depending on what people wanted, it might have ended up in a Pax win and a solo Imperial Unity win, or a joint Imperial Unity win. And the game did result in a 4-way win between the Inuits, which is in my mind the true winner of this game. Me at second place as Poland. This was my ending position over in Europe, and this was my ending position in South America. At third place, I believe we had Ayutthaya, who really managed to establish this very strong position down in Asia. Huge respect to the player, Sheps. And in fourth place, we had the Ottoman Empire, which really stretched far longer than I think most of us would have expected it to. Well played to all players who played in this round in a game Bluebell of Imperial Diplomacy. It was a super fun game, and in my mind, it was one of the most fun I've ever had with diplomacy.
the map really worked out for the most part like I wanted it to. And of course, there's ways to still improve the map, and for the next playtest we're gonna do. But I'm looking forward to it. I hope I can have as much fun with the second iteration as I had with the first one. Even though, for example, the Vassal rules might be heavily changed or even removed after what Tyler managed to pull off in the final years of this game. With that, I'd just like to thank Florida Man for having me along on this very long after-action report. And if any of you guys are interested in joining a future Imperial Diplomacy game, I believe there might be a link in the description. That's enough from me, Blair, and I hope to see you somewhere in the future.
I hope you liked that video. And if you did, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, comment with your thoughts below. I would like to thank the patrons and the translators, and also just the subscribers, everyone who's still sticking around, remaining interested in this channel. Thank you also to Flair for appearing on the channel. You were a phenomenal guest, and I recommend that my audience consider giving your variant a try. Until next time, Florida Man out.